Okay, we're going to just do a couple quotes from Tim Ferris. You know, I like Tim Ferris. If you're young and you want to learn marketing, he's a great guy to study. He's great at marketing. Does he BS a little bit? Yeah, everybody in sales does. But he's great at marketing. And he's inspiring. You know, he says things like, tomorrow becomes never. No matter how small the task, take the first step now. I actually think there's truth in that, in the sense that you have to decide what you want to do and you just go for it. And everybody's going to tell you you can't do it. Everybody's going to tell you you suck. But you have to go for it if you want to try to give something a try. You know, you might fail. Try to make an attempt in a way that doesn't, cost you too much money or physical safety. But if you want to get good at something, you got to get going on it. Ask yourself, how can I speed up progress? In order for information to be retained, it must be connected to emotion. That's like the Ezra Pound quote, only emotion endures. Yeah, I notice on my YouTube videos, if there's something emotional, a lot more people watch it. They're not that interested in like complex facts, most of them. Some of them are. The goal is to focus on the long term, on the long run. Peter Thiel, the business consultant guy, said, trust and attention are scarce items. Ask yourself, what can you be first at? What are you best at? Better than the competition. Okay, then quotes like, you need 1,000 true fans to be financially well off. People that would buy your products, whatever it is that you sell. Likes don't pay bills, sales do. Yeah, I know if you want to make money, if that's your goal, that's how you have to be. But, there's a price you pay for that. But that's what you got to do if you want to make money. Memorable, useful photo, drawing, emotion, a joke. The day before something is a breakthrough idea, it was just a crazy idea. Try to be 10 times bigger than whatever else is in your field. These are all sort of as motivational things. If you want to be tougher, then decide to be tougher. It's a decision. Jocko Willink was a quote. So he was sort of giving some of the quotes of inspiring people. He says, if you want to increase attention to a video, give it a picture with your shirt off or with an animal. So a lot of these quotes are kind of funny, but that's the kind of things Tim Ferris would think about. A smartphone photo has your GPS on it. Anybody can look up that metadata, so remove it if you don't want it on there. Do a 3-minute plank. It's not about being good, it's about being great. Ask yourself, what if I did the opposite? That can be a useful thing. I would say, if you want to understand a lot of things, just ask yourself, what if the opposite is true? Okay, like when the animal rights person tells you they really care about animals, maybe what they really care about is, population, control. That's been my impression of most of them. Okay, here's a quote I love. This comes from actually a YouTube channel called Inside the Score. He says, resources are the enemy of creativity. And what that means is, sometimes people always want more resources, but a lot of times just start the project, whatever it is. If it's to write a book, if it's to do something else, just get going on it with whatever you got. If it's to become strong, lift weights with whatever you got. And then maybe someday you'll have enough money to join the health club or buy more weights for yourself. But if you don't, start with what you got. Do isometrics, do body weight exercises, chin pulls, lat pulls, push-ups, etc. The Heimlich quote, if everybody understands what you are doing, then you're not being creative enough. And I sort of have a love-hate thing with Tim Ferris. He's Mr. Rico Suave, charmer, marketer, king of clickbait, all of that stuff. But he's once in a while says something really good. So a lot of nonsense, but he also once in a while says something really good. Time on task. He says you got to put more time on task. And that's why you got to read in the bathroom. I can't tell you how much I've read in the bathroom and listened to books in the car. Trust your reader that he or she can fill the empty spaces. Don't explain. Paulo Coelho. Okay, so where am I getting all these quotes from? These are Tim Ferris recommends these quotes from other famous people. That's why I've kind of got all this stuff listed under Tim Ferris. Mae West, those who are offended easily should be offended more often. Write everything down because it's fleeting. Mike Birbiglia. Yeah, I'm a big believer in write stuff down. When you hear something interesting, write it down on a note card, and then you can just throw it on your desk and read about it when you get some free time. Otherwise, you'll probably forget. Brene Brown says, to be trusted, you got to be vulnerable. You can't really earn trust over time with people unless you are somewhat vulnerable. Oh, just be yourself, and they either like you or they don't. Lao Tzu, being deeply loved by someone gives you strength, while loving someone deeply gives you courage. Okay. Mark Andreessen, the famous computer programmer, he says, to do original work, you must believe something that few others believe. Okay, if you're going to be original. In a startup, nothing happens unless you make it happen. The difference between a vision and a hallucination is that other people can see the vision. Innovation does not come from big companies. It never has and never will. It comes from individual small companies. It looks crazy at first. It's from startups that no one's ever heard of. If you had to do one thing, learning to code for computers is the single best thing anybody could do to get the most out of the amazing future in front of us. There are basically two types of people in this world: the people who can tell computers what to do, and those who are told by computers what to do. So that's an interesting statement. Yeah, if you're young, that's probably a good thing to know, computer programming. Thomas Edison, never go to sleep without a request to your subconscious. Yeah, you want your subconscious to work on something just because it's smarter than your conscious mind. A lot of times it figures stuff out. You wake up in the morning and all of a sudden the answer is there. Chase Jarvis says, creativity is a renewable resource. The more you use, the more you get. Better to amplify your strengths than to fix your weaknesses. Yeah, that's all true. And I think Tim Ferris is right in the sense that he says, if you're not enthusiastic about something, ask yourself, why are you doing it? You know, you might have to do something kind of boring for you for a job to make money, but try to at least have a hobby you're enthusiastic about. Be enthusiastic about being a parent if that works for you. The biggest mistake you can make is to accept the norms of your time. Yeah, certainly if you want to cure a patient, that would be true. Kurt Vonnegut, we are what we pretend to be. Well, if you focus on being something long enough, you start becoming like that, if it's possible. Peter Diamandis says, the day before something is truly a breakthrough, it's a crazy idea. If it wasn't a crazy idea, it wouldn't be a breakthrough. It would just be incremental improvement. The best way to be a billionaire is to help a billion people. And that's kind of like the idea of sales. Like, you know, who can make a better burger? Kiyosaki used to say this. Who can make a better cheeseburger than McDonald's? And everybody raises their hand. Who's better at selling it? Nobody raises their hand. So selling it is where the money comes from. Here's another quote by Diamandis. If you can't win, then change the rules. Yeah, you got to find your niche, what works for you. Lin Yutang says, the wisdom of life consists in the elimination of all non-essentials. I would say that's a big part of success in anything is you have to really simplify your life. And I did that a lot. You know, I wanted to be a writer and a scholar, and I didn't really have much time because I was working full-time in medicine. So in a sense, that was the old trade-off I had with my wife, and the trade-off I have with my girlfriend is, you know, protect my time for me to do intellectual work. And so, you know, you got to do something to make them happy. Decide what that is. Tim Ferris, if it's important to you and you want to do it eventually, just do it now and correct course along the way. There are no statues erected to critics. If you have a 10-year plan, ask yourself, why can't you do it in 6 months? Okay, here's another one. People will choose unhappiness over uncertainty. I think that's true. They don't like uncertainty unless they think the odds are really good. Tim Ferris, to design a lifestyle, focus on time, mobility, autonomy, and income. Yeah, because things might change in the future. So I think it's good to just have real high-level skills in at least 2 things so that even if one of them fails, you can do the other thing. I've had that happen to me where I had to switch things. Jordan Peterson, to sell something, people are more likely to want something that prevents failure than something advertised as enabling winning. All right, well, anyways, I hope that was helpful. That's it for Tim Ferris.